Tanner, since week 6, the Chiefs have the 4th best defense in the entire NFL.
Welcome into the Sports Buffoons podcast.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? We are back at the Sports Buffoons studios once again after a couple weeks away due to our busy schedule getting rolling. So it is good to be back in here, Tanner.
Yes, it is.
Good to see us in the same room, at least for the moment.
We are here, yes.
Yeah. JG will be back with us again soon. He's taking the week off. That's fine. Hope he takes care of himself and all that good stuff. We'll be glad to have him back here shortly.
That's right. Now, everybody, make sure you go ahead and let's pop a drink here for this special episode here that we got a lot to talk about in such a small amount of time.
True that. Absolutely. What are you drinking, Tanner?
I got me some Boulevard, the Hawaiian Pizza Party.
Yeah. That thing came out like in the summer, and your ass has been holding on to it for a while.
Well, I drank one earlier in the summer, but my buddy Skip, who's trying to hook me up here, expect some more Boulevards. Maybe I get another one of these. These are pretty good.
Solid stuff. Very fruity though. It's like pineapple flavor.
Yeah. It's actually not too bad of a beer. At first it was kind of weird, but it's not too bad.
I just got a little whiskey, guys. I'm being simple today. Just a little whiskey and a little splash of what is it? Diet Coke here? I don't know what it is.
It's Diet Dr. Pepper.
Dr. Pepper. All right,
yeah,
whatever. That's fine.
Dr. Pepper here, guys.
Speaking of drinking, guys, I want to give a shout out real quick to Mr. Brews in Overland Park, Kansas. Here, we love that place. Me and JG, the boy, we go over there quite often to do a little prep for the show each week, and we enjoy their atmosphere. They got great beers on tap, always something different. The bartender Tomas does a great job of picking out the good stuff. He likes high BV stuff, as he says. We'll get the double IPAs, the Imperial Stouts in there. So I suggest you guys roll on over there. It's around 80th and Metcalf if you're from the area. And they have, in my opinion, honestly, like the best burgers in town. Like,
you did. You've told me that before, that you really enjoy their food as much as you enjoy their beer.
Absolutely. They have good wings. I had some of their wings today, as a matter of fact. We plan on being there in 2 weeks, doing a show live from Mr. Brews. Looking forward to that very much.
Keep an eye on the invites, guys, as we are going to get that posted on our Facebook page as well, and we'll definitely make sure we're posting it so you guys can show up live and watch the Buffoons live as well.
Yeah, guys, Tomas is also a Cowboys fan, so this week I couldn't be too friendly with them. I still tried to give him a good tip and all that, but I didn't want to talk too much smack going into the week. But guys, we'll get into that here in a little bit. Chiefs Cowboys talk. We do have some fantasy talk, and then we have a little bit of just NFL mindset right now to wrap our heads around of walking into Week 11, the way this season's unfolded, and the weird crap that's gone on, especially the last 2 weeks. I don't understand what's going on with the full NFL right now. Like, just weird teams winning games, and we saw the Ravens lose a game.
Yeah.
Just the stuff like this is going on, and we're going to dig into that here a little bit shortly.
Correct.
One more thing before we get going, though, Tanner. I want to give a shout out to your brother and one of our special guests from the show. Yes. Connor Dawson got a great promotion in the MLB. He's now the hitting coach of the Milwaukee Brewers.
That's
you guys have checked us out in the past and historically watched us. He actually was on our show for an interview. It was called The Coach's Journey.
That's right. And I want to say it was back in probably around March area is when that posted. So, yes, you guys make sure you check that out because it is talking about his journey into the Seattle organization that he did for a couple of years. Now he's with Milwaukee, and we will have a follow-up interview with him here in a few weeks from here. So excited to talk about his journey through Seattle, through what he's experienced, and kind of what he hopes to build up in Milwaukee. So, yes, big, huge congrats, of course.
Yeah, I'm excited for that, to have him back on the show again. Talk a little Chiefs even, as well as dig into some baseball and catch up on what a whirlwind his life has been involved with the MLB now in the past few months.
Probably so much going on,
But first and foremost, guys, before we dig into our fantasy topic of the day, guys, Whataburger is now a part of Kansas City. So
it's open.
Lee Summit got their deal done. It is open officially. I think how many are we gonna get? Like a dozen Whataburgers out here?
At least. I want to say there's at least 5 or 6 on schedule to open by the time it ends next year.
I heard that the line of cars was like backed up to the highway.
It was interfering with the hospital next to it.
I can't wrap my head around
I can
waiting for 2 hours for a damn cheeseburger.
I heard there were lines because it opened Monday. So I heard there was lines on Sunday of people waiting in line for this.
Okay, so we were both here when Jack in the Box came to Kansas City, and Tanner, your ass was there every damn day. I mean, maybe I'm over exaggerating.
It was actually Jason and I.
Yeah, you two. Yeah, you two were over there.
The tacos, man, they're hard to beat.
But I mean, between that, I mean, we've all had In-N-Out by now. But I don't know. I've never had Whataburger yet. At some point,
I haven't had it either.
But, the hype for these restaurants, they start off so high and then it just drops off. It's
I'm just gonna wait till the OP1 opens, and then when it calms down enough, maybe I get there sometime or on an early Saturday, and then I go grab a burger and try it. But I'm not gonna go sit there and wait in line for 6 to 8 hours and deal with that. I'm out.
Have you heard any reviews yet from anyone?
No.
Any friends?
Nope. I think the only thing I've seen so far is don't order the fish sandwich.
The fish. Ooh, really? So we've only heard a negative review at this point then.
That's all I've seen, yeah.
Derek Johnson, who also is from Texas, by the way, he said his favorite thing is the number 5 with bacon. So, I mean, I don't know what exactly that entails, but
no clue. But I'll remember that.
I feel like we should be asking Mahomes because he's the one that brought this to Kansas City. Mahomes should be the one.
See, the thing is, with a line, you expect Mahomes to be there, right? But Mahomes wasn't there.
What if he was the first one in line? That would be the way you should open that.
That should have been that way, but it wasn't. Instead, Mahomes was too busy destroying the Raiders. So
that's true. That's true. He had other things on his mind, I'm sure. He is back in the saddle again, playing like the MVP. Which, by the way, he apparently got an MVP award from Nickelodeon. So random.
Show me that before the show.
Yeah, random thing of the day. Now you guys.
What?
Now Nickelodeon's giving away MVP awards.
Well, we got primetime games on Nickelodeon now, and also we're getting MVP awards.
Yeah, the Nickelodeon valuable player, apparently. So
I don't know. Anyways,
guys, the world is weird and wacky, so we are just trying to be normal here up in this business
as much as we can.
Well, we're going to play a little game, you guys, because fantasy season here is beginning to kind of wrap up a little bit. We got a few more weeks left, of course, and most of you probably have passed your trade deadline at this point. If not, I mean, good. Keep your eyes open. Make a deal. I made a couple deals today. One of my deals I made was something that I had in the works because I'm looking towards our final week of the season. Our final week of the season is week 17. And so for most teams or most leagues, that probably should be when your league ends. And correct. Believe it or not, on paper, I traded away Arizona Cardinals defense to get the Saints defense. Now you might be thinking to yourself, wait a minute, the Cardinals have the number 2 defense in fantasy. And okay, that's fine. But what about week 17? Well, they play the Dallas Cowboys week 17. So I'm not going to want the Cardinals defense. I'm trying to plan ahead, planning for the future, as all of you out there listening should be doing as well. Be cerebral. Think about what you're going to do when it comes time for weeks 15, 16, 17, and what your lineups are going to look like. Absolutely. So, man, I think that's how you should be approaching things if you're successful. Tanner, you're 5-5 right now.
I'm right in the mix.
You're trying to just one game at a time, 1 week at a
time. I'm a tie basically for third place essentially right now.
Right. And
like
so
a 4-way tie.
You're looking like you have a good shot to be in, but you probably need to win this week and the week after, and then you're probably in.
Yep.
So that's probably the goal right now for you. All right, guys. We're going to play a little Stardom Sit-'em.
Time to get into it. All right, Mike. So we got the Stardom Sit-'ems, right? So we got 3 players each we do want to talk about here and kind of why you should start them or why you should sit them. And there's a lot of factors going into it, right? It's hard, right? So we are in week 11. Did you know we're in week 11? It doesn't feel like it.
It came quick.
It came really quick. It took my realization, we're past 10 days or 10 weeks, guys. So you kind of know essentially who the guy is, who your guys are, who the teams you want to kind of make sure they are starting for you facing, such as a Jets, a Jaguars team, or even what's the other bad team in the world? There's a lot of them.
I mean, just you can go on and on. I mean,
San Francisco?
The Dolphins just beat San Francisco just beat the Rams, and the Dolphins beat the Ravens. So
yeah, the Dolphins too.
I don't know.
I don't get it.
Where do you begin?
It's crazy. It's crazy how it goes. But yeah, Mike and I each kind of picked out a handful of guys that are kind of questionable, whether that's due to injuries coming into play. Maybe they're coming back from an injury and there's different depth chart going on, or maybe players are rising. So it's gonna be kind of crazy, guys. So I'll go ahead and start here. My first guy is coming back from concussion. He did not play last week. New England Patriots, Damian Harris. Ramon Stevenson has been really impressive. Brandon Bolden, he stepped in as well. He's been looking great. But I don't know if you necessarily want to bench Damian Harris yet, because he's gotten the bulk of the playing time for this Patriots team, and the Patriots seem to be catching on just at the right time. Now, Damian Harris, kind of a brief background here, guys. His snap percentages are below 50%, but that's because he is the red zone target. He is the guy that's going to get the goal line carries for the most part, outside of Bolden and Stevenson. Stevenson likes to be used throughout the drive, more of a passing back, but he does get his fair share of rushes. And it's kind of a hard one here as they go against the Atlanta Falcons this week on, was it Thursday Night Football, I believe. So it's going to be a good game, I think. The Atlanta Falcons defense is not that great at all. They're kind of getting run up on here. I expect Damian coming back after a fresh week being off, recovering from that concussion, that he is going to continue with a couple goal line carries. I expect a few touchdowns. I would say start him this week because Atlanta's defense is not going to stop this guy, and possibly looking at a good receiving back for Mac Jones to dump down to as well in the red zone area as well.
Tanner, I got one for you. It's going to maybe surprise a few people, but I got Michael Gallup I want to talk about for a second here. So a lot of you that have been holding on to him, or maybe you just picked him up in your fantasy leagues, obviously we saw him open up week one, have an injury right away, get 7 points in that game, and then came back this previous week, ended up with 7 points once again. And so you're thinking to yourself, okay, Michael Gallup, obviously it's in a three-headed monster receiving-wise.
Yeah.
You got Cooper over there, you got CeeDee Lamb, so you got some people fighting for targets for sure. But I think Michael Gallup's someone to watch out for, but not in the way you think. I think right now the Chiefs actually have given up the 10th fewest points to wide receivers this year, and that's a big kudos to the Chiefs cornerback group. These guys are great. Rashad Fenton actually ranks right now number 1 in Pro Football Focus rankings, and then L'Jarius Sneed as well has been making plays all over the field throughout the season, and really this past week was just a dominant player on the field, making tackles and open field and stuff like that. Tre'Davious Ward is primarily an outside corner, but he's not my concern because Gallup is going to be playing a lot of slot.
Yep.
And so who's going to cover the slot? You're going to see a combination of Sneed and Fenton. And Fenton does not really give up catches. And so I think this is something to watch out for. This is the toughest situation that they've faced Chiefs-wise passing this whole season. So this is their toughest test going against the three-headed monster, as I would call them, of the Dallas Cowboys. But on the other end of things, it's like, the Cowboys are running into a defense right now that is starting to get into groove. And I think that it's going to be a great game, but the Cowboys are going to end up being in this game because of their ground game with Zeke and Tony Pollard, not as much involved with guys like Michael Gallup or Amari Cooper. So I think the Gallup is actually, for me, going to be a sit-em. He needs to prove it to you before you start him.
And I would say a follow-up on Gallup here, guys. Kind of watch for Gallup here. CeeDee Lamb did hurt his he had an arm injury this last game, and so he is still kind of dealing with that arm injury. Granted, I don't think it keeps him out by any means, but kind of keep an eye out for that too, because maybe the Cowboys are going to say, hey, let's just sit CD, and that'll increase Gallup up to a stardom.
And that helped the Chiefs a lot because CeeDee Lamb's badass.
Yeah, CeeDee Lamb is a beast. I got him on fantasy team, so I love the guy. All right, guys, next up for me here, it's kind of a weird one, but Adam Thielen, another guy I have on my fantasy team, and you can't kind of go wrong with this guy, but it's kind of like the last few weeks, it just feels like he isn't getting the fair share targets that he usually gets. He is playing majority of the snaps, right, over 90, but if you look at his targets here, 7 and 7, but Kirk Cousins can't get this guy the ball. And if it happens, then there's a penalty on the offense for the Vikings here. He's going against Green Bay. This is the big reason here. I'm going to say Adam Thielen is almost a sit-em in Green Bay. Justin Jefferson, Osborne are probably going to get majority of the work because Green Bay has been lights out on their defensive side. And we've kind of seen it the last few weeks, especially without Aaron Rodgers. And even against the Seattle team with DK and Lockett, they contained them. That defense played really well. And I don't anticipate Thielen, if he's already struggling to get his touchdowns and points here, especially catches. I mean, you could throw the ball 10 times to him, but if he only catches 2 to 5, that's not going to help you do anything. So I'd say this week here is a sit-em game. I like Justin Jefferson really getting mainly a lot of targets and catches, and like Osborne coming up with the third with either the slot guy or the third depth chart guy on the cornerback, and kind of seeing a lot more be able to actually catch the ball here. So.
All right, my next one here I'm thinking about right now, as a matter of fact, if you have him on your roster and you're curious if you should play him, I say Kendrick Bourne is someone to watch out for going against the Falcons here on, was it Thursday Night Football, right, Tanner?
Thursday Night Football.
Falcons actually have given up the 8th most points to wide receivers this year, and Mac Jones is heating up. So we saw Mac Jones put 3 touchdowns last week, go out and dominate the Cleveland Browns, and just looked phenomenal. I think this guy is going to be legitimately a great pocket passing quarterback for a long time coming once they get more talent surrounded around him. This might take a year or two still, but the guy's playing great as a rookie, getting the ball out there, great touch, great accuracy. To me, Kendrick Bourne is a guy this last week had 98 yards and 1 touchdown, and out of his 10 games this year, he's put up double digits 5 of those 10 games. And that's in a Patriots offense which honestly, it's unpredictable. You never know what's going to happen in that offense. I'm seeing the target shares, though, start to go to Bourne more often as time's gone on a little bit here. He's got 43 targets on the year, 33 catches, which tells me he's catching about 75% of his passes thrown his way. He's at 520 yards on the year and 3 touchdowns total. I like this matchup against Atlanta a lot. I think that Mac Jones is starting to get in his rhythm with Kendrick Bourne, and I see this guy starting to really kind of come out of a shell and start to make plays. He's only rostered in 16% of leagues, as a matter of fact.
Yep.
I think you have a flex option there, and you're not sure what to do with this guy. I say start him against Atlanta and watch him give you another minimum 15 points this week. Yeah,
especially with a lot of people on bye week this week that you would maybe need a guy to fill in. He would be a great guy.
Yeah.
Now, last week he did have 4 targets he caught all 4 of those targets, like I said, 98 yards. But his big deal was his yards per catch was at 24.5, which is huge, especially for a Patriots team here that can't seem to get a receiver over 100 yards.
He's got speed, guys. He's going to stretch the field a little bit. I think his total for the season yards per catch, somewhere around 17.
Correct. And if you look back on the schedule too, his next big blow up that happened would against the Giants, which I think is a similar team to the Falcons, honestly, where he had another 96-yard, 8 targets, 6 receptions, and a touchdown on that one. So I anticipate him having a good game against Atlanta as well. So good call on that one. All right, guys, my final guy here is, he's pretty talented. It's one of the best that came out of the draft, I think. He will be in the end. Rashad Bateman, guys, for the Baltimore Ravens. He did have that injury early in the year, so of course we didn't start seeing him until week 6. But he's getting his fair share of targets. Lamar's looking for him. The last 2 games, he's at 8 targets, 5 receptions from Minnesota, 6 receptions against Miami, 80 yards as well. And his yards per catch is above 10 for the last 3 games. So that's kind of what I'm looking for in a guy that's going to be a pass-catching guy that Lamar needs for that Baltimore offense right now, because they did just lose to the Dolphins. Hollywood Brown's nowhere to be found, I feel like, anymore. Sammy Watkins is hurt half the time, just like he was in KC. So you got to look at Rashad. He's going to be one of the main factors, I think, on this Ravens team going forward. Now they face Chicago next week, and you got Cleveland, Cleveland just gave up the 98 yards to Bourne. So look at Rashad having a heyday against at least these next 2 weeks, even 3 weeks if you want to count Pittsburgh in. So next week it's a start him. You have to start Rashad in your league because this guy is going to get his targets. He could get up to about, I think, 10 targets this next week. against a Bears defense that is great against the run but struggles against the pass. And I expect another great game, another great reception bound of at least 6 or more receptions going for high yardage.
Yeah, one thing I want to say real quick, you guys, those of you out there listening, if you do have questions, go ahead and send them in, whether it's a trade offer or it's a starter or sit 'em who's not on our list. Go ahead and send them in. We'd love to answer anything during the entire duration of our show. We love hearing from you guys, so that way we can give you some feedback. So my last guy here, I got David Montgomery going against the Baltimore Ravens. So running back David Montgomery, he got 13 carries last week coming back from his injury. We saw Khalil Herbert go out there, put up 100 yards against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Good for him.
KU beast.
Yeah. You didn't even know he's from KU, Tanner.
Yeah, I did.
I don't know. I don't know if I believe it. But he did at one point say he was a stardom earlier this year.
I did.
And he ended up having a couple of good weeks. So I got to give Tanner some credit for that at least. But, the thing is for this, the Bears need to run the ball to have success against this game here, against the Ravens. The Ravens are going to be pissed off here because they're walking into this game after getting their butts whooped against a bad team, and they're going to want to try to put up numbers in this game. And this game's going to get out of hand quickly, and I think if they're going to end up reverting back to having to work through the passing game to stay involved in the game at all, because I can imagine this game being a thing where Montgomery, even though he's your number one running back, walks into this, but it's going to be third down situations, passing situations throughout the entire game for that offense. And the Ravens are going to be coming in, putting up, 35 points in this game. They're going to be trying to prove their point, and they're going to be trying to put up, 150 yards on the ground minimum.
Yep.
And so ball control, as well as running up the score a little bit. Bears are just going to be wanting to throw the ball, and it's probably not going to be Montgomery. It's going to be to Khalil Herbert. And so I think David Montgomery for this week, and still trying to get back acclimated off that injury, I think still sit him one more week just to be safe. And then after this, you can probably start playing him again.
Yep, I agree with you on that one fully. I just don't see them working away from Herbert as hot as Herbert's been the last few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I can work with what you got and don't injure your number one running back any further than he already has been, right? So take a little easy on him. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Tanner, you want to jump into some Chiefs?
Let's jump into some Chiefs, guys.
Oh boy, are we excited about that win against the Raiders though?
It looked like the Chiefs were back, didn't it?
That was a game that was won from all three phases. We've been asking for that for a while now.
Oh my gosh!
Like, come on, guys. We have some games where it's like the defense shows up, but the offense doesn't. The offense showed up, and the defense did. Special teams craps the bed, but somebody else was making plays. It's like, come on, guys. I did get a full, complete game, and this was the one where the Chiefs had a full, complete game from all three phases. And good to own the Raiders in Las Vegas once more.
And I couldn't really tell either, like if it was just because it was Raider week, right? Going into Arrowhead West out there in Las Vegas, and just dominating their home stance at that stadium. So I don't know if it was just some hype about that, or if we really did see the real Chiefs come out. If we even saw the real Patrick Mahomes return after so many bad weeks and off weeks, I felt like Mahomes was back, didn't it?
Yeah, he looked comfortable again, and like it was kind of loosened up a little bit. Like I feel like the offense itself and the creativity came back from Andy Reid all of a sudden, and we saw the play calling was phenomenal.
Oh yeah,
even the running plays were just great, and the offensive line was spectacular. And Andrew Wiley played phenomenal against Max Crosby, the defensive end right there. That was his best game of his entire career, in my opinion. And it surprised all of us, I think, that he played that well.
It really did.
But he did. And, Travis Kelce was open all day. Tyreek Hill had another huge game, 2 touchdowns. The whole thing was in rhythm, and the defense was getting pressure, like just stuff like that. And, Derek Carr was just doing Derek Carr things, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. Which is basically
you throw pressure at his face,
and he freaks.
He freaks out and just throws it up in the air. That's not what you want in a quarterback.
Right. I mean, I'm hoping we can do this again in a few weeks when you play him back in Kansas City, but it's going to be tough to say because every game is its own whole entity, basically.
Correct.
So every game could be a little different. But the Chiefs out-physicaled the Raiders.
Yes.
And normally we don't see that because last year when the Chiefs played the Raiders both times, I feel like the Raiders were more physical than the Chiefs both times, even though the Chiefs split that series. This time it's like the Chiefs went out there to bully them. Like,
Well,
we
yeah.
straight up bullied them.
I mean, we rushed the yards 25 times for 94 yards.
Mhm.
Like, we were actually rushing the ball for that many times, and we don't normally do that with these guys.
And Tyreek Hill said we could have scored 60.
Yeah, they would just kept passing the ball, and Mahomes did throw it for 50 times. I don't know if you caught that.
Yeah, 35.
He went
50.
out and he balled.
Absolutely.
I thought the interesting part of this all here, if you're looking down at the 30-yard conversion compared to each team, we were 9 for 15, while the Las Vegas Raiders were 1 for 9. That is dominant defense right there, keeping them off the field. And if you look at time of possession as well, we beat them by over 10 minutes on the time of possession, which that blows my mind because I just don't feel like we've had that all season. We got the Raiders off the field, kept our offense on the field.
Yeah, they're going 3
and
and
we
out.
just kept going.
They were going 3 and out, The Raiders were doing dumb stuff, and they were going 3 and out. Chiefs get the ball back and have long drives. Chiefs actually have, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but actually have the most time spent on drives per drive on a basis of, every drive. So basically, I guess I worded that kind of wrong there, but what I'm trying to say is the Chiefs actually have the best time of possession in all of the NFL this year on ball control. And a lot of that does have to do with the fact teams have been playing that too high safety more often and not allowing the Chiefs to score quick. Also, it's been a thing where the Chiefs have to kind of be more methodical in their approach to getting down the field, which ends up taking more time off the clock and, more of the short passes, underneath passes. And even on those turnovers the Chiefs have had throughout the year, turnovers have been down in the red zone after a long, successful drive.
Yep.
So these guys are still moving the ball as good as ever. It was just, in the beginning of the year, at least, it was turnovers. And we're hoping to get that fixed here. And maybe that was a weird, fluky thing that was going on, some kind of curse. But I'm hoping right now it is done for because if we can get this team to be where they're rolling the way they are without the turnovers, you still have the best offense in the entire NFL.
And you're still looking at possibly a 1 seed if you continue to play like you're doing. The Bills are struggling. The Ravens are struggling. The Browns are nowhere near going to be near it. So, I mean, those are your 3 main teams outside of Titans.
It's the Titans that you got to watch
Titans,
out for.
can they be that consistent on offense without Derrick Henry, without Julio Jones? Maybe. But if that defense over there in Tennessee keeps up, they could be definitely in the mix. But at worst, you're looking at a 2 seed with the Chiefs. If they continue to perform like they're supposed to, especially with the schedule we got coming up here. Now, we do got some guys coming back, right? So we got Clyde.
Mm-hmm.
Do we expect him to have kind of an impact against this Dallas Cowboys team? Or do we expect him to be kind of a mixed in here and there, keep with Durrell?
I feel like roll with what's working still. I mean, Darrell Williams is a guy that is not going to be breakaway by any means, but he will get you 5-yard chunks anytime you really need him.
Yeah.
And so that's what I think the Chiefs need the most is to be able to pick up those chunks. And, we don't have Jamal Charles anymore. We don't have those guys that can break away all of a sudden for 70 yards. Clyde's not going to do it. Darrell's not going to do it. Derek Gore's not going to do it. And so I think right now, roll with what's working still. And Darrell Williams has done a really, really good job. And I think he's earned playing time for this offense. And he's done it last year where he looked good. And this year looks even better. I think he moves the pile. And Clyde can be involved, I would say right now, in specific situations. But he's coming back from an injury still. I say give him some time still to recover from all that and keep rolling with your Derek Gore and Darrell Williams as well.
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay with mixing them in, maybe to the pass game a little more. But yeah, outside of that, keep up with Williams.
That's
here.
The thing. I don't want to take away catches from Darrell Williams because the guy has good hands. And he's proven that over his whole career.
Well, hell,
he had the
one catch.
He had the one play in the Super Bowl, Tanner, that hit him right in the face mask. All right, bounced right off of him. The play where Mahomes was all sideways in the air, ended up going incomplete. It was in the end zone, right off
the
face.
mask.
Otherwise, the guy catches everything. And Clyde has not been used properly since he's become a Chief in the passing game. I'd like to see him honestly get more like 40 to 50 catches per year. But I think throwing to Darrell Williams 8 times this past week was terrific. I think that's exactly the kind of offense the Chiefs should roll with because that's working with what they're given.
Gotcha. And now looking up on the line here, Lucas Nyane did not practice once again today. Looks like he is possibly going to be out again this upcoming Sunday. Do we stick with Kyle Long? Sorry, Kyle Long is coming back from injury reserve, expected to be activated this week. Do you stick with Wiley, or do you say, hey, Long, you want to see if you can get in there?
Yeah, right now you got to stick with Wiley. I mean, for the moment at least, until he proves himself to be a failure. But I mean, after that game against Crosby, it worked. It was great. He played great. Give Nying some time still to get himself healthy. I do think Nying's a better run blocker than Andrew Wiley is.
Yep.
But in the pass blocking game, Wiley was A+ last week, and so I think go into this again because we're going against a pretty decent defense in the Cowboys right now. Surprised me because the Cowboys the last few years have not had a good defense. And we're walking into a team right now that's, showing up, making turnovers, and doing their job.
I kind of feel, though, with the Cowboys, too, thinking about them, I think the whole reason they really defeated themselves last year was as soon as Dak went out, the whole offense went out, and they were on the field, I think, majority of the games. And that, I mean, you're going to tire your defense out. I don't care if you're out there, yes, you got to stop the guys, but when you're out there every 5 minutes, trying to hop out there to stop these guys from going 3 out. Like, you're just going to be tired, right? Now they got an offense that can control the pace. They can run the ball with Tony Pollard and Zeke. They got Dak who can throw the ball to all his weapons out there. And it just gives that defense a little bit more breathing on the sidelines and be able to come up with a good, plan for the next drive to get off that field quicker. So that's kind of what my thoughts are with this defense. This Cowboys defense that we're going to face. Speaking of the Chiefs defense here, we've seen a lot of shakeup as well. Chris Jones moving inside. Melvin Ingram got a lot of playing time once again on the outside as well. Do you like what we're seeing here on that defensive line structure? That's kind of been almost, you could say, revamped. There was even Jaron Reed signing last week.
Yeah, that part did surprise me. I think Melvin Ingram, though, is what kind of makes it a little more flexible for this team right now as far as moving Chris Jones more inside. Now, this past game, he came out right away playing D-end. But,
yep.
He was obviously moved inside as well throughout the game. And when Melvin Ingram's out there playing on edge, well, Chris Jones is going to be inside. So that's what I like to see because I think it's a kind of a physicality kind of a standpoint. And if you look at the stat sheet, guy had no tackles in this game, but he had a couple of batted passes, and he was involved in just getting in the face of Derek Carr throughout this Raiders game and getting his hands up in the air, knocking things down, and just getting involved in pressure. And that goes a long ways towards a successful defense. Might not show up on the stat sheet as much as you want, but at the same time, you're affecting the play and you're affecting the outcome, just like, throwing the ball up, heaving it 40 yards like Derek Carr did for no reason at all. Pressure can cause that, and you're not going to see that on the stat sheet. I think Chris Jones on the inside is exactly where he needs to be. Unfortunately, we all were duped. We were wrong about Chris Jones playing D-end. I saw some people out there that said he was going to be the defensive player of the year. He was going to have 16 sacks. And
he was going to be ballistic, man.
Those aren't going to happen. People had wishful thinking, thoughts, and we saw him in preseason, and he looked really good at D-end, right?
He looked great.
And, here we go, regular season, and it's like, nope, Peach doesn't have that outside quickness. He is a pure bull rush interior guy, and that's just, you got to work with what works.
Yeah, and I'm just hoping that they're able to mix in Derek Nottie in there still, because Derek Nottie is great against the run. He the last few games, there was actually a tweet. I can't find it, of course, right now, but it showed a play of his of Nottie where it was a run up the middle, and he would make it one step to the left away from the run and then be able to work his way back inside to stop it to just a 2-3 yard gain that could have broke up for 5. Like, Derek Nottie has been doing this consistently throughout the season, and I would just hate to see his playing time diminish with Chris Jones moving inside, but I don't think it will as long as he's performing like we've been seeing. So, no, I'm not going to take any hate away against Derek Nottie. It's just the unfortunate of moving Chris Jones back inside. You got to go somewhere, and unfortunately, that's either going to be Reed or Nottie.
Well, let's diagnose something real quick, Tanner. We got the Cowboys coming up. They are 7-2 on the year. Chiefs, obviously, as if you're watching here on YouTube, are sitting at 6-4, as you can see here on our little what do you call this, Tanner? What is this thing?
I don't know. It's some sign thing you bought?
Sign thing I bought like over a year ago.
Mike's sign thing.
I don't know. One of my sign things I bought when I first moved into my apartment like a long ass time ago. But guys, remember when I had my rant about the Chiefs defense like over a month ago?
Yeah. Yeah.
And we were on pace to be
the
worst defense of all time. Well, I need to have a discussion with you guys because this is like a switch. These guys have flipped into now that going from 3.5 points per drive allowed down to 2.38 points per drive allowed throughout this year. That's not the worst in the league. That's actually bottom 5, which is better than the worst. But here's the thing: since Week 6 against Washington, Tanner, the defense is down to 1.59 points allowed per drive, and the league average is 2.08. That's telling me they're half a point per drive better right now than the league average. And if you were to put that in perspective against the rest of the NFL right now, they would be the 4th best defense in the entire league in the last 5 weeks. So we're on the right track, guys.
We are. And if we get the offense on the same side as the defense, it's going to be scary.
And here's the other weird thing, guys. As bad as it was in the beginning, the Chiefs right now actually ranked 20th in points per game allowed. 20th. That's what do we ask for when we have Patrick Mahomes? We've always said, just have an average defense and we can make it happen.
That's all we ask.
Just have an average defense.
Somewhere between 15 and 20, we're fine.
The Chiefs have now won 4 of their last 5 games, and the defense is playing above average.
Yes.
So, of course, the Chiefs are winning games now. Like, we need the defense to still keep this up and continue, and some guys are starting to show out. Like I've talked about earlier, Rashad Fenton stepping up, playing great. Guy doesn't have an interception yet this year, but it doesn't matter. The guy's covering his guy as good as anybody. Remember old corner from the Raiders, Nnamdi Asomugha, never really got interceptions. He was not a guy that would put up numbers, but he was a lockdown corner. You didn't throw in his direction because you knew the guy you were throwing to was going to be covered. And so Nnamdi Asomugha was a phenomenal cover corner that just didn't put up numbers because teams were terrified to throw his direction. And
Correct.
Rashad Fenton should be kind of the same way here soon because teams are starting to figure out, like, when we throw his way, it's not working out too well, and because he's covering his guys as good as anybody. Pro Football Focus, #1 corner in the entire league, so that is cool as hell. And fun fact for you guys, if you guys out there listening don't know, there's actually a name and a trophy for this game, for the Chiefs-Cowboys game.
Oh, because it was a Texans kind of deal. History.
Right, so Clark Hunt, the Chiefs owner, obviously, from Dallas, Texas, actually lived on the exact same street as our boy over there for Dallas, Mr. Jerry Jones. And they lived, I think it was something like half a mile away. It was on the same street. And so at some point, Clark came up to Jerry Jones and presented the idea of this trophy. And he wanted to have a trophy for any time the Chiefs play the Cowboys. And it is called the Preston Road Trophy. And so now, whenever the Chiefs-Cowboys play, the winner gets to now hold on to this trophy. And it's a long, funny story across billionaires, to tell to their friends. So they have it in their house. So
right now, the Hunts have it, right?
You're right. So the last time the Chiefs and Cowboys played, Chiefs got the victory. And the thing about it now, the Chiefs beat the Cowboys in 2013. And then the last time they would have played would have been
the Tyreek game. They scored at halftime.
I thought the Chiefs ended up losing that game.
Did they?
I thought they lost the game.
I could be wrong.
In Jerry Jones' hand right now, as a matter of fact.
Let's see here.
Let me find out really quick, actually.
I'll look it up here.
All right. So, what did we get? We have Cowboys did win. That's right.
The Cowboys did. I was thinking because of that.
Cowboys ended up winning. So it went from 2013. Alex Smith defeated the Cowboys 17-16. And that was the first time the Chiefs ever wore red on red, by the way. Fun fact again for you guys. We were just full of fun facts today, Tanner. And then the Cowboys ended up defeating the Chiefs in 2017, 28-17. This is actually Patrick Mahomes' first ever game against the Cowboys.
Yeah.
First time ever against the Cowboys. So
this will be his 30, I think it was the 31st team that he's played.
Is that right?
So he's played every team. And his only losses right now in the 30 out of 30 games is the Rams he hasn't beat, and Seattle are the 2 teams he has yet to beat.
And Pat did grow up watching the Cowboys quite a bit.
So this will be his 31st team that he played. So he played all 31 teams. And so if he wins here, it'll just be the Rams and Seattle he has not beat.
Not beat or played?
Not beat. We lost to the Rams.
I don't know.
That Monday Night Football game.
I need to check on that. I don't know about that one.
And we lost to Seattle.
You're telling me he's beat 30 teams?
That's what I saw here on Twitter. I don't have to tweet.
How is that even possible when he's only played 4 years?
Chiefs, dude. I don't know.
No, it's just okay.
I'll look it up here.
Well, anyways, I just know he kind of grew up a Cowboys fan, so this will be his first time going against the team he used to grow up watching more back whenever they I guess rolling with Tony Romo would have been a guy he watched plenty of. Um, but anyways, you guys, Tanner, what do you think about this game coming up? Because I think the Cowboys need to run the ball to stay in this game, not pass the ball. You want to have ball control. You want to keep Mahomes off the field. And then on defense, Trayvon Diggs has proven himself to be one of the best cover corners in the game as well, and a ball hawk. I mean, this guy is ridiculous. And with Mahomes throwing 10 interceptions this year, even though half have not really been, his fault, I think that Diggs has got to watch for. I say avoid that area. Wherever the hell Trayvon Diggs is at.
He's going to be hovering all over either Travis Kelce or Tyreek Hill.
I get it. But motion, get him across the line there and get him on a different mismatch. And just roll it that way.
Just quick correction here. I stand corrected. This will be the 30th team. He has not played against Minnesota or Dallas. Just throwing it out there. I looked it up here.
Right. But you were saying he'd beat 30 teams.
No. He's
okay.
Sorry.
I was going to say, that's not possible.
No. Well, he did, actually. Because
he beat 30 teams?
He's beat 30 teams.
What the hell?
If you want, I would love before we jump here real quick. I can go down the way real quick here. I have the full list here. He's beat the Cardinals, a regular season record, and a postseason record, right? Between postseason and regular season, he's beat the Cardinals 1-0, Falcons 1-0, Ravens 3-1, Buffalo Bills 1-1, Panthers, Bears, Bengals 1-0, Browns 2-0, has not played the Cowboys, Broncos he's 7-0, Lions, Packers, he is technically 1-0, Texans he's 1-1, Colts he is 0-1, so he hasn't beat the Colts. Oh wait, no, he did beat the Colts in the postseason, so he's technically 1-1.
Okay.
So Jacksonville 2-0. Obviously can't play themselves, even though he did the other week. Las Vegas 6-1. Chargers 4-2. The Rams he hasn't beaten. He's 0-1. Dolphins he beat 1-0. Hasn't played the Vikings in the regular season, of course, postseason, of course. Patriots he's 2-1, and the regular season 0-1 is the postseason record. Saints, Giants, Jets, Eagles, Steelers. He's 1-0. In the regular season. San Francisco, he's 1-0, and he also beat them in the Super Bowl, so he's 1-0 there in the postseason. Seahawks, he's 0-1. Titans, he's 0-2 in the regular season, but they beat him in the postseason. And Tampa Bay, they are 1-0 in the regular season, 0-1 in the postseason. And Washington football team, 1-0.
So he's beaten like 26 or 27 teams now.
What are you talking about? If you include the postseason...
Yeah, if you include it, but you also there was like 3 or 4 teams on there that he hadn't beat yet.
Cowboys, Vikings, Rams, Seattle. And 2 of them he hasn't played yet.
Right.
So of the teams he's beaten all of them but 2, and now he has 2 more teams to get the complete 31. So, but yeah, it's still a ridiculous record. The fact that he owns over half the NFL. So, but let's get back to the Cowboys here, guys. The Cowboys here. I'm anticipating a very close game, very tough game, possibly high scoring as well. I mean, you got all these weapons that Dak has. I expect them to get into the red zone and just use Zeke and just bust up the middle each time. I think we're going to see a lot of Noddy and Reed in this one. I wouldn't mind seeing Saunders be activated as well to put in that defensive tackle spot to really bust the middle up there. I expect also Nick Bolton to have a good game because I expect them to actually run the ball against us and see kind of Nick get out there and get a hold of Zeke. Other than that, guys, the offense, I anticipate this offense to continue exactly what they did last year is what I'm looking at. Last game. I anticipate that to continue to roll. I don't think we're going to see a Josh Gordon breakout game just yet. Andy Reid keeps saying, "Oh, it's coming, Mahomes, it's coming." It's not going to be. I think that's going to be a late bloomer here. But I really do anticipate a lot of passes, another probably 50 attempts at least for Patrick Mahomes. But I really hope they kind of stuff the ball at the middle. And I also expect a lot of blitzing from Spags, similar to what he did with the Raiders, similar to what he did with the Packers. I expected a lot of pressure on Dak this week as well on 3:30 Sunday. So that's kind of my thoughts going into this Dallas game. If you put pressure on Dak, make him throw it up in the air, let our secondary do the rest.
Yeah, this just comes down to turnovers for me. So this is a game that's going to be where the Chiefs don't turn the ball over, they're going to win this game. If they turn it over 3 times, they're going to lose.
Yeah.
And that's all it comes down to.
You turn it over
This
at all.
This will come down to, I think, the fourth quarter, because these are both very good teams at this point, and we've proven that.
Contenders.
And I think that's all it is. It's like it's a simple game sometimes, you guys. Sometimes you just don't give the ball away, and then you win games. Well, when the Chiefs have not given the ball away as much, they tend to win more.
Correct.
That's that simple. So, anyways, that's my thoughts towards it. I'm going to go ahead and show my bias here. I do think the Chiefs end up getting win. We're going to talk about that more on our TikTok, though, because we're going to do a little pick'ems on our TikTok, of course. And so you'll see us on there. But I like this game quite a bit. This is the game of the week. Mahomes versus Dak. We saw those idiots on ESPN, Shannon Sharp, and whatever other buffoon always is on there. Sharp and
is that a Skip?
Skip Bayless, yeah. Those guys are always on there talking about stuff, and they say, "Ooh, if Dak gets a victory against the Chiefs, does that mean he's a better quarterback than Mahomes?" Like, just stop with the whole conversation before we even get going here. And so, luckily, we talk about better things on our podcast, not some BS like that. So.
Or like, what's Colin Coward saying the Chiefs are fakes, pretty much. That they still suck.
Right. He always says nonsense like that. Cowherd is also a moron. He's a blowhard as well. So that is no surprise when people say those kind of goofy things. And our good buddy, Tanner Jason Brown from Hard Knocks, or not Hard Knocks, but from Last Chance U, he's over there talking crap about Mahomes too, and calling him a what's a basketball player? Harden. James Harden. He's basically the same as James Harden, according to Jason Brown.
And not in a good way either.
Right.
He's not saying it in a good way.
No, he's not. Maybe because he's from Oakland. He's got a little airhead to him. So that would probably be the reason why. Guys, all right. Done with the bashing for the moment. Tanner?
You okay, Mike?
I would have some steam I want to let off. Haven't had a chance in a while. Our pets' heads are falling off. All right. No. So. All right. So.
Oh, man.
Tanner? Wrapping this up here, anything else to say before we jump into our NFL talk?
No, it's going to be an exciting game, win or lose. I think it's just going to be a fun one to watch, and we haven't had a really good fun one I feel like in a few weeks.
Oh, the Raiders was fun.
Yeah, beating them, and then it got boring in the fourth quarter.
It was a great game
because it was Derek Carr trying to throw the ball again.
All right. Anyways, NFL talk.
Here we go. All right, guys. NFL season is here. Should we run down through some headlines?
Sure.
You up for some headlines here? All right. See here, right off the back here, around the NFL, Seahawks Pete Carroll said Chris Carson's neck. He doesn't have a good update. Is this a worry for Seattle? They get Russell Wilson back last week, but Chris Carson once again is dealing with injuries on that squad. Like
here's the thing with Chris Carson: he's either injured or he's fumbling. So he does one of two things, and he's got fumbleitis just as much as he is injured in different ways. So, sure, he's got good moments, I guess, but he's not also reliable. They got other running backs on that team that can be
Alex Collins, maybe. Collins, he runs
Travis
great.
Homer is okay.
Yeah, Homer.
He's not spectacular, but the Seahawks still are a team where like defense sucks, and Russell needs to throw the ball like 50 times. And unfortunately, with that finger injury, he's not able to throw the ball right now. So that's a problem. So.
It's kind of a struggle too, because he just recently came. Whether it was 19-hour rehab days that he was doing to get back at this point in the season, and I feel like that's cool and all, but you don't look prepared. Granted, it was snowy Lambeau. We'll give him that. So I'm kind of excited to see him this week, see how well he actually does come back in a decent weather environment. But I don't know. Chris Carson, I'm not holding my head up for him to be back this week, especially if it's a neck injury for him, because you're running back and you kind of need to, need that part to get through the line. So
yeah. Here's the thing: the Seahawks have like 3 wins on the season. So really, this team's not going anywhere. And if I'm the Seahawks, I kind of preserve Carson, I guess, if you plan on using him next year. And let's not run him to the ground by any means. And if you do ease him in, do it slowly. Get him maybe 10 touches, per game throughout the remainder of the season, that'll be it.
Yeah, there you go. Up next here, Taylor Biscotti. She stated here that Brandon Staley said Joey Bosa is a close contact, but he has tested negative. So there's a chance the Chargers could have him this Sunday night.
Right. So he was close contact, tested negative. So it's not an Aaron Rodgers situation.
Nope.
Even though Bosa is unvaccinated like Rodgers. Rodgers had missed a game because he tested positive, whereas Bosa was just within contact of Jerry Tillery is actually who was I believe who was tested positive, and because they're both along the defensive line, I guess I'm assuming that's probably why Bosa would be involved in that.
And while we're on this topic too, like let's talk about the Chargers here. What do we think about the Chargers? They've kind of went down the last few weeks. They've lost some games they shouldn't have lost, of course. But they are kind of banged up, and Mike Williams is nowhere to be found anymore. Like, what are we looking at this Chargers team? Are they a contender in the AFC West still? Are we extremely worried about as Chiefs fans? Or is this a team that is possibly on the downfall right now?
They kind of lost themselves. In the beginning of the year, they were coming off firing, and Herbert looked amazing, and he still is a good quarterback, obviously. But, Williams, honestly, he overvalued himself a little bit. The guy is what he is. He's a deep threat as far as a jump ball getter, but, like, he's not going to be your consistent guy that's going to get open. He doesn't have separation. Keenan Allen is your true, like, more underneath, going to be wide open kind of a receiver in that offense. But that defense is the biggest problem. The Chargers defense sucks. Yep. And that's what's going to end up killing them in the end, and probably why they're going to end up losing this division. They had this division by the balls, and they're going to end up dropping it.
They really did.
They're going to end up dropping it because the defense is so bad. Obviously Austin Eckler's had a great year, so there's no knock on him by any means. Chargers are just a team that are going to struggle down the stretch because of consistency and that kind of a lack of identity. And then obviously Staley is a new head coach and probably trying to figure himself out as well of how to adjust as teams figure you out as the season rolls on.
Just trying to get it back to where it should be,
It's a good thing for the Chiefs, Tanner, is that the Chiefs were figured out early on because of teams watched the Super Bowl tape and just kind of copycatted that. Where now the Chiefs are going the other way, and now they're adjusting to the adjustment. So now the Chiefs are having to adjust to the way other teams have adjusted to them, which in turn will probably make this team better down the stretch than they would have been otherwise.
That's right. Overcome adversity here. Recently, guys, this last game here, Washington did place Chase Young on the IR for a torn ACL. It's unfortunate for that Washington team that seems to actually has kind of woken up last game with their big victory against the Bucs. So, I mean, do you expect this Washington defense still to be a player coming to play late in the season, continue what they're doing without Chase Young?
No, it's not going to happen. I mean, they were struggling in the beginning of the year.
Sorry.
Are we doing a coughing fest?
I think so.
Compare coughs. So, no, they struggled in the beginning of the year, Tanner. And so now you take away Chase Young from that defense, and it's just not going to be pretty. I mean, the team itself is not good anyway. And so putting that in perspective for what we're looking at here, they're going to struggle.
Yeah, gotcha. We just had a comment here as we roll back here.
B-dubs.
Is Clyde back, and what does the split look like? We kind of briefly talked about it here not too long ago, but essentially we kind of both stated stick with Williams and just work Clyde in as you need to keep stuff fresh, but don't rush the guy back by any means.
What I believe in really here is keep Darrell as your main guy, and Clyde can be integrated in a little bit as the rest of the year goes on, but there's no need to give him workloads like 15 to 20 touches a game when you have backs that are serviceable and Darrell pushes the pile. I mean, when it comes down to 3rd and 1, or maybe you're at the goal line, who are you going to trust? You're not going to trust Clyde. You're going to trust Darrell. So keep that dude as, honestly, walking into the game, the starter in the first quarter should be still Darrell Williams, and then slowly get Clyde more integrated as the year goes on.
That's right.
And preserve him for the playoffs, and maybe we can use him a little more then.
Be nice to have fresh legs for that part.
Absolutely.
All right, we'll keep going here on our Twitter news breaking today. Giant Saquon Barkley, his ankle, he said The coach said he looked really good today upon his return to practice following the bye week. You expect him to play this week?
I mean, this is a kind of a sad story because Saquon Barkley is a phenomenal athlete, and we all kind of saw him as like the next superstar running back. I mean, we thought he'd be like the next maybe Dalvin Cook or Adrian Peterson type of running back, and his career has now been
well. He had such a great start until
the rookie season was amazing,
phenomenal, and then
oh my God.
His injury happened.
Now here we are. Now here we are with injuries every year now is happening.
Which this one was a freak one as well. By
going
the way.
Down a bad road,
being stepped on.
So
I don't know, like if it was the Giants season, if he had played all last year and then had this injury, I'd say almost like let's just keep him out. Giants aren't going to do nothing for playoff contention. But with him not playing all of last year and kind of intermittent this year, you gotta play the Giant. You gotta play Saquon. Saquon has to get his footing back, and you might as well get it in the last part of the season. Granted, like I said, this injury was a freak one. It was being stepped on by the Cowboys, and it was just a weird one. But you gotta let this guy play from week 11 on, playoff contention or not, because it's a pretty big one right
and
here.
Teams do not respect Devontae Booker. They know what he is, and he's not a threat whatsoever.
Exactly. So Steelers and Chargers do play Sunday night. We just talked about Joey Bosa and Jerry Tillery, but how about Minka Fitzpatrick and Ben Roethlisberger? Minka just got placed on the COVID-19 list. Ben was placed on it last week, and it looks like he could possibly be out, or it will be out this Sunday as well. Is this a concern for you, for the Steelers team in general? Just in the situation they're at in their division, to be able to be playoff contenders? Because Najee's playing great, but
Mason Rudolph sucks.
Rudolph ain't your guy.
The thing is, like, Ben is obviously having a struggling year, but like if he's not playing, you can just assume that could be a loss. Because Rudolph is not good. They've not been good at drafting backups for the Steelers since Roethlisberger came to the league, actually, back in 2003. And so, I guess that was 2004 maybe. 2004 is what I'm thinking. But, they've had Mason Rudolph, and they've had other bums, I think, over time that were just back quarterbacks to this team that never amounted to anything.
No.
They couldn't step up when it came time because Roethlisberger has had an injury history.
Correct.
His whole career, really.
And Mike Tomlin still has
not an injury. This is a COVID issue.
Yeah, but Mike Tomlin still hasn't has a losing season yet. Mm-hmm. So, but it's the fact that Mason Rudolph is not going to be your guy that you want for 2 games in a row.
They got a good matchup this week. They're going to run the ball with Najee Harris, and that'll be what you rely on.
Big fantasy option.
Give him 25 carries on this game, and hope you can come out on the better end of this.
Big fantasy option here. And then, so we'll kind of end here on Russell Wilson here, but Russell Wilson stated today, he goes, I'm ridiculously obsessed with football. That's why I want to play 20-plus years. And he also states in this as well that he would like to play 20-plus years and then own a NFL team with it.
Wow. He reminds me a little bit of Pat. As far as like, I hope that Pat also wants to play 20-plus years in the NFL too. And I hope that he's as in love with football as Russell claims he is as well. And I could see Pat, with a $500 million contract. He already owns part of the Royals. Yeah, I could see him wanting to own at least part of the NFL team.
Kansas City women's soccer team as well.
Sure.
So, but I mean, could you see Russell Wilson playing 20-plus years, like with the way he is, the running quarterback, being just as effective as if he was Tom Brady?
Does he feel like he's 32 or 33 years old to you? Because to me, I still see a 28-year-old when I look at Russell play.
That's very true.
He does not look like he's a guy who's about to be done, and the way he's obviously mobile. I could see him playing for a long time for sure in this league.
Definitely. All right, we'll hit back to comments here. Cade Smith here. AJ Brown or DK Ross?
DK Ross. What is DK Ross? What am
I assume?
I'm gonna assume.
Look, I'd go AJ Brown. Just the fact that he's the guy only target on that team. Period. DK or no DK. Like, if you're talking about Metcalf,
Julio's still on.
I'm not
IR.
Anticipating nothing big with Russell here. I would definitely go AJ Brown on this.
I agree with that. AJ Brown's a better way to go because
no Henry, no Julio, Chester Rogers. The
Oh.
tight ends are getting targets. Like AJ Brown's the only guy.
So Ross's rest of season.
Oh, rest of season.
Those darn acronyms always get me.
We're old here.
Rest of season though. I guess long-term thinking on that, I want to kind of lean a little bit to DK, but he's had a little bit of an off year. Part of that
is obviously Russell Wilson's injury history.
Yeah, that's a little bit of it there. But then again, AJ Brown has been consistent now 2 years in a row, and so you kind of want to roll with what's working. And I think that that's probably the better way to go. DK's got 8 touchdowns on the season, and Russell, as he gets healthier, could end up obviously playing better than he did this past week.
Because he had a rough start. Russell Wilson really did have a rough start. DK had a rough start as well this season. AJ Brown isn't the most consistent guy. I have him on my fantasy team, and I hate him some weeks and like him some weeks, this kind of deal. But I'd say if you want more consistency of getting that 12 to 20 point range, I'd go AJ Brown. Just the fact that he seems to be the only one who, his injury during the week goes from healthy to questionable back to healthy. He is going to be the guy that's going to be in the starting lineup. Tough guy. He played through knee injuries all last year. I'd say for me, I'd go AJ Brown for the rest of the season on this one.
So I think, for 1 week, I'll go AJ Brown. But for the rest of the season, I'm going to stick with DK because of that bad defense. Russell's going to be throwing the ball 40 times a game. And so I see that unfolding to where they're going to be getting more targets that way. Tyler Lockett as well, of course. So I just see those things playing out a little bit to be a pass-heavy kind of a situation where I could see, because the Titans actually have a good defense this year, are going to end up in situations where maybe Deontay Foreman ends up getting more of a workload. Yeah. And A.J. Brown ends up not putting up the elite numbers that you could potentially see with DK Metcalf, because Metcalf's possible for a 200-yard, 2-touchdown game at any moment.
Yeah, but it's also the same thing with Tyler Lockett on the other side.
Sure. I mean, Lockett's had a down year just because of the situation. I mean, Geno Smith didn't know how to give him the ball, and this past week, it was even worse.
Yeah.
And so, and actually, I was surprised it actually went down.
Again, it was also in snowy Lambeau, and not a lot of good quarterbacks will play that, so. Yeah. So, I mean, kind of thinking about that. But, all right, Mike. Well, I think our hour is up here. Any final thoughts here before we conclude the show?
Final thought is start gearing towards week 16 and 17 in your fantasy leagues. Start making your adjustments as you need them. Start looking at the matchups for those weeks and start. If you can still trade, make trades right now to get that deal done. I did that today, as a matter of fact. So if you watch the beginning of our show, I discussed one of the trades I did. Gave up the Cardinals defense for the Saints for the situation that's going to happen in week 17. And I see that as kind of, in turn benefiting me as I gear up my team, who's currently 8-2 for the long haul here. So,
and I want to encourage you guys there that aren't necessarily in playoff contention to make sure you're still putting in your starters, still be looking at waiver wires, because you could be the guy that ruins it for your buddy of getting in the playoffs or not. I was that guy last couple of years. This year, I am in playoff contention, so I am really focused on it. But don't be afraid. You could be that guy that ruins it for your buddy and gets to just give the hardest time to. So, but outside of that, guys, thank you for joining us. Thank you for the comments here. Hopefully next week here we can have more fantasy talk here. We'll definitely do that, especially for our Thanksgiving show that we will have as well. So, yeah. Other than that, guys,
let's get a Chiefs victory.
Go Chiefs. See you guys.
Out.